Hello?
Hello. How are you?
All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Good.
All right.
What a day. So, how you feeling?
Fantastic.
Great. I'm glad.
Yes, I am very happy.
Uh,
it's been it's been a while since my throat hasn't hurt in any way, shape, or form.
That's great. So, what happened? You got sick?
No, I've had that throat problem for years where like I clear my throat all the time. You've probably noticed it on the show.
Yeah, sure.
It's uh it's from the stuff that was in the old place.
That
The
sucks.
mold and all that stuff that was in the old place was making me sick.
Yeah.
And so I feeling great here. So, huzzah!
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so the thing I'm learning tonight is that the new studio is warmer than everywhere else.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you need to get an air conditioner for it?
I don't know. We'll see what I end up doing. I've been thinking about putting smart vents and controlling it
Yeah.
with IoT. So that might be the way to go. We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what are we talking about tonight from you?
I want to talk about my $800 uh my $800 PC build.
Okay, perfect. Sounds great. I've been looking forward to that topic since we first teased it a while back.
Let me see if I can even hold on. Move this chair. My, my can see the case, although it's not much to see, but it does have RGB on it. So on the front of the case, I should say front of the case. Okay. Can you see that?
Uh, a fair question. Yes, I I had to go to the
Okay.
I had to go to the full screen. I was in the half and half, so
Um, let's see. Oh wait, where's my mode button? I want to get. I want to put this in the actual RGB mode so that it's not just green or blue. There's one where it actually does the whole RGB thing. Oh, did I accidentally turn it off? Yes. Okay. Anyway, maybe, maybe it's showing. I don't know. There we go. Now I
there
got the
we go.
RGB mode.
That's
All
slick.
right.
Okay,
Yes.
so
So
in the half and half shot, it's
yeah,
just in the corner, and it looks
yeah,
really cool. I like it. It's like
yeah.
it,
So
it's like the that Phil Spencer live stream that he did talking about Xbox, and there was an Xbox Series S in the frame the whole time, and nobody knew. That's
uh,
how, that's
well,
how that's how I
well,
feel this is gonna
well.
be.
If I can move over enough here, I can be like Jensen from Nvidia, and have like the important reveal hidden behind me somewhere. Like if you saw that Nvidia press
Yeah,
conference where he
yeah.
had a set of spatulas back behind him in his kitchen, and behind the spatulas was the Nvidia RTX 3080 card,
Mm-hmm.
or was it the 3090? Anyway, he
One or
had
the other.
the big reveal card behind him.
That's funny. Okay, that all sounds good. All right. Did you see the rest?
No, I
Uh, TikTok deadline might be
so
Tuesday. Um, Apple changed its App Store policies to entice xCloud, but it may not work. Amazon's got some price gouging and some defective product claims, and Mulan.
you know what just happened this just like an hour ago, right?
No, what?
the deal is sealed on Nvidia buying ARM.
Is it? That
Yeah,
was
$40
on my
billion deal.
that was on my short list. We should but it wasn't closed yet, so I didn't write it. So
Yeah.
we should definitely talk about that in the top before we get into the
Yep.
topics. Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right. And big disappointment. The studio looks like the old one right now because all my parts aren't in for the new one.
Okay.
But it is what it is. Okay, I have to remember what I'm doing. What do I have to do? I have to record here, record here, record here. All right. Oh, and I have a Surface Duo sitting next to me. Very excited about that. Okay. Everything's in place, and here. Oh, no, it's not. Hold on. Ooh, I'm a liar. Now everything's in place. Here we go. And good evening from the mostly new Plug It Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we are here with episode 572 of F5 Live Refreshing Technology for Sunday, September 13th, 2020. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, time is ticking for TikTok. Apple is trying to support game streaming, and Amazon is literally under fire. Wherever you are, however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or Twitter, through a podcatcher like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of other options, through our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Twitch, Periscope, YouTube, or Facebook, or of course on our website, plugkidslive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is you can join us live Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern by going to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us in the studio, give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. Everyone, I love to hear about that. If you're not able to join us live, that's okay. You can subscribe by going to plugkidslive.com/subscribe, and there you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, The Pilch Point, Plug Kids Live Presents, and a whole lot more. And of course, find all the ways that you can watch or listen. Abram, it has been a little too long. How have you been,
Yes,
buddy?
it's been a few weeks. Not bad at all. Doing some major computer projects. We could talk a little bit later about PC that I built for an article, but beyond that, my son has really been wanting me to do various Raspberry Pi projects with him. I mean, he also helped me with the PC build, but we've been doing a bunch of things with the Sphero Rover lately because he really likes the Sphero Rover, which is for those who don't know, is a robotic tank that you can attach a Raspberry Pi to if you want or not. And we've attached one to it, and we had some challenges getting it to work with a pan and tilt, a pan and tilt thing with a camera. But we just got that working today. But unfortunately, all the little jumper cables that connect all the things keep popping out every time the thing moves, which is making me really irritated. But so we've been working on that. We've been working on a robotic arm that we have. So a bunch of things. And obviously there's a lot more. There's a lot more to do. There's just a ton going on in the PC world right now. We all know that the NVIDIA card, the new NVIDIA RTX 3080 and 3090 are coming out soon. I can tell you that our graphics editor, Jared Walton, has a 3080 that he's testing because we actually did an unboxing with it last week on Tom's Hardware, and for like 40 minutes, we had people asking us to show the fan and show the fins. We weren't allowed to plug it in or anything, but people really
Sure.
wanted to look in and see, the outside of the card. So,
I can appreciate
so
that.
that's
I can
big.
appreciate that.
Yeah, that's big. We expect some big announcements. I think a lot of people expect some big announcements from AMD coming up in October. Um, Obviously, Intel has Tiger Lake, things that could be going on. Um, so there's a lot of there's a lot going on in the PC world right now, and it's an exciting time with lots of new parts.
Yeah, for sure. And while you guys did an unboxing of a video card, I did an unboxing this week of this little guy. Oh, I should I should flip
Oh,
it this way.
the Duo.
Yes. Um, I got a Surface Duo this week, and I have been having a lot of fun putting it through its paces. Uh, it is an interesting little device. It's got a couple of quirks that are software based that they'll probably deal with in the next week or so. But in general, it's a snappy little device. I'm surprised. I was a little
So
concerned, but
the one thing that would, I mean, I love the concept of the dual screen. It doesn't look very pocket friendly. Can it fit in your pocket at all?
yes, yeah. Um, I have I have some pants with very small pockets, and the first thing I did was I put those pants on, and I tested it, and I was able to get it into the pocket uh, of those pants, which was encouraging. um, and then I put on some gym shorts. I've put on some jeans. I've put on kind of
See,
normal
that's
clothes.
real benchmarking for you.
Yeah, I
Some heavy
be,
duty benchmarking, trying different pants.
because my concern was the same as yours, right? Because when you close it, it is a bit of a big device, and so I was concerned that something this size might not fit in my pocket and therefore not be a particularly useful device. But it has proven me wrong at every turn. So that's good. That's what I was hoping to see,
Yeah.
was that I was going to be wrong.
How are you finding the camera?
Really nice. I'm going to post some pictures to the F5 Live, no, to the Plug Hits Live Facebook page, and probably F5 Live as well, of the studio taken in pretty low light last night, just as we were finishing it. I'm impressed. I took a picture of my dog with it, and it's the first camera to ever pick up the red in his chest. It's the first phone camera that's ever like emphasized the red in his chest. So that was pretty cool.
Great.
So I like it. I've shown it to some people, and I've accidentally sold a couple of them. It wasn't exactly my intention, but they put it in their hands. They messed around with it for a little while, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna order one right now." So
Uh,
it's definitely one of those things you got to have in your hand, and you'll be like, "Oh, okay, I think I understand." 'Cause from a conceptual standpoint, it can be difficult for some people, but so far, people touching it seem to like it. I've read some tech blogs are annoyed that it's last year's hardware, but I'm coming off of Nest 10. I'm coming off of last year's hardware anyway, so. Anyway, before we get into our planned news tonight, something happened about an hour ago, and we decided we weren't going to throw out the entire rundown, and we'd cover it here in the opening of the show. NVIDIA has announced that they have acquired ARM for $40 billion. Abram, that is crazy.
yep. So that that is going to really shake up the chip industry,
Mm-hmm.
because just for folks who don't know, who may be watching or listening and don't understand what ARM does, besides Intel, which makes its chips for PCs, and AMD, which makes its chips for PCs, and they both make chips for servers.
Mm-hmm.
The main So the main source of processor chips, um, there are chips that use ARM technology, but the ARM company actually doesn't make anything. They make the IP. They design the architecture and then they license it.
Right.
And so in your phone, every single phone is an ARM processor. But the ARM processor might be made by Apple, might be Apple's ARM processor, it might be Qualcomm's ARM processor. It's probably, if you're in the United States, it's probably Apple or Qualcomm
Sure.
making the processor in their phone. But in other countries, they have some other manufacturers like Rockchip and MediaTek, um,
MediaTek. That's the name
and
I was trying to
lots
come
of
up with.
other companies, and Broadcom, and lots of other companies. Besides, forget phones. I mean, all kinds of things are using ARM chips you may not even know about. Maybe the infotainment system in your
Hmm.
car, maybe your smart TV,
Right.
your set top box, your smart home system. A
Your
lot of things are
your
using,
Alexa powered toaster oven.
yeah, so many things. You probably have multiple ARM powered devices in your home right now,
Yeah.
even if you don't know it. But none of them are manufactured by ARM. They're manufactured by, dozens of different manufacturers, and each one of them is free to, I mean, ARM, I never totally understood this. ARM provides them with sort of the base technology, but then they innovate on top of it. So it's not
Yeah.
like every ARM V7 processor is the same. It's um, they provide different, they keep coming out with new versions of the architecture, but then companies are free to iterate on top of that,
It's
and
kind
they
of
do.
it's kind of like Wi-Fi in that there's a standard for the base, and then the Nighthawk takes the standard to extremes, but but it's still based on the Wi-Fi standard.
Right. So anyway, this company ARM had been sort of a neutral third party in its own ecosystem. It didn't make the chips. It Qualcomm and Apple could at least take, um, and MediaTek and all those could at least take solace in the fact that they were competing against each other. They weren't competing against the company that owns
Mm-hmm.
the technology. But now you have Nvidia buying ARM. Now, Nvidia isn't per se competing with. I mean, at one point they were trying to get into phones, but that was a long time ago, and they
Yeah.
gave up. So, Nvidia not necessarily doing. I mean, they do have their Tegra chips, and they do use ARM processors in things like their Jetson, like their um, some of their AI boards. So
Sure.
I think that is ARM in it. So I don't know if per se Nvidia will be seen as a competitor buying the technology, but it's definitely not exactly a neutral third party because it is a chip maker. It is not just selling the technology. Now, to be fair, we see this all over the technology industry, right? Google makes Android, but they also make their own phones. Microsoft makes Windows, and when Microsoft decided to do the Surfaces, I thought, oh man, they're going to regret this because they're supposed to be seen as a sort of a neutral operating system provider, but it hasn't stopped. Hasn't made companies think twice about using Windows on their products. So
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it has no impact, or maybe some of these companies start to think we don't really like um, where this is going, particularly if Nvidia does anything that raises the cost, and they may look for other types of chips to make. Although, besides ARM, what else will people do? Risk V? It's an interesting question. What type of architecture a chip would use if it does not use ARM?
Yeah. Now, in, in fairness, the soon-to-be former owner of ARM is SoftBank, which um, has its fingers in a lot of pots, including previously owning the majority stake in Sprint and a couple of other things. So they weren't exactly a neutral party themselves. You know, they had relationships with chip makers. They had relationships with phone manufacturers. Oppo had a SoftBank owned chip manufacturer making stuff for their phones. So even SoftBank for the last 4 years hasn't been entirely neutral, but NVIDIA is far less neutral, certainly in the West, than SoftBank would have been. So yeah, there were concerns when SoftBank bought it that, you know, the same thing that you were saying about Microsoft and the Surface. There were concerns when SoftBank bought ARM, and none of that came to fruition. So hopefully we'll see the same thing here, you know, with NVIDIA being mostly not interested in, you know, building ARM stuff. They build stuff on ARM, but they don't mostly compete in that space. So hopefully we'll see the same behavior. Fingers crossed, right?
There's some thought though that NVIDIA might bring its graphics expertise to ARM, and so you might actually see. I mean, NVIDIA obviously is the leader in graphics technology for the PC. They are a leader in artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite possible that they could. I mean, I'm sure they're not just buying it to buy it. I mean, I'm sure they have some vision of synergy where having control of this really allows them to integrate other NVIDIA technologies with ARM.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously we'll see where this goes. It is literally, as we're on air now, it's been a little over an hour since this announcement was made. So we know very little except the $40 billion price point, up from 32 when SoftBank bought it 4 years ago, which goes to show just how important ARM is to the mobile space. So we will keep track of this. We will probably circle back next week once we have more information about, you know, the plans for separation and of NVIDIA from ARM, what their plans are for keeping it independent, which is our guess on how it'll happen or not. Who knows? So we will circle back at some point and keep you updated on where it goes. But we've got some other things to talk about, so let's do that now. This week's Nifty Gifties and F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, an Xbox One, a Series S, a Series X, games, or a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. And remember that current students and active military can save up to 10% on almost anything. And you can find out about more. You can find out more about that by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. Yeah. Sorry about that. Don't know why a phone started talking. Anyway, so we've talked a lot over the last, 6-7 weeks about the future of TikTok in the United States and the West in general, but particularly here in the U.S. If you have not been following, there was a series of executive orders that went out. The first was earlier in August, I think it was August 6th, that set a deadline of September 15th for a U.S. company to purchase the U.S. operations of TikTok or see a ban. After a legal advisory group took a look at what was happening, a new deadline was set. However, some public statements from the current administration suggest that the 15th deadline, which is 2 days from today, might hold. And if that's the case, a purchase has to happen by basically close of business on Tuesday or on
It happened.
It happened?
Yes, 30 minutes ago.
Oh my God. Okay. Great. This is honest to God. This is like the week that AT&T announced that they were purchasing T-Mobile, and we just had to throw the whole rundown out.
Oracle. It's Oracle.
Oh,
It's
Oracle, huh?
Oracle. Yes.
Okay.
That's
So,
interesting, isn't it?
yes, for a number of reasons. Let's start with the restrictions that were put on the purchase from China. Um, none of, and it's the same restrictions that we have on U.S. Exports. Uh, Encryption technology and AI technology cannot be exported. And China put the same policies in place ahead of this sale, which basically means that the following matchmaking algorithm, the feed algorithm for TikTok are not part of the purchase, which made the purchase less attractive to the Microsoft Walmart deal, uh, and apparently not at all less attractive to Oracle, despite the fact that they have no real expertise in either of those uh,
Yeah, it
areas.
it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I guess the only way it makes sense is that that Larry Ellison has a good relationship with the president, and so
That
he
could
could
be.
feel good that it won't that the that it won't be banned. Right now, we don't have a lot of information. What I'm seeing right now is that it's not an outright. It's not described as an outright sale. So
Okay.
who knows? I mean, it. I have no idea why Oracle would wish to own this. You know what? Here's my prediction. My prediction is that Oracle at some point unloads this, but maybe not for a year or two or a few. Like, it's one of those things where clearly there's not a cultural fit between, or an interest fit between the buyer and the company, and you know it can't last. Like,
Yeah.
think about some other things we've seen that happen like that. Like when Google bought Motorola, right? They bought Motorola, and immediately it was like, oh wait, Google wants to be a phone manufacturer now. Funny thing was that Google actually has become more of a phone manufacturer, but they never wanted to do it with Motorola.
Right.
So they kept the patents, I think, and they sold the rest to Lenovo. But for a short time, there was some pretense that they were going to really, be a good corporate parent to Motorola. So I don't know. I I don't know what Oracle is thinking. I mean, because it's hard for me to imagine Oracle getting into the social media business.
Yeah. Because Oracle has no consumer front to it at all. At least Microsoft's got Xbox, they've got LinkedIn, there are, they've got Windows, they've got Office, they've got like people fronted products and services, whereas Oracle is really like an enterprise development kind of company. They've got the slowest, most painful database in existence in its namesake, but they also own MySQL. They are responsible for Java since acquiring Sun, uh, but none of that is what a 19-year-old social media person would use or even know exists. So maybe they're
Yeah,
trying to get their name in front of a new group, but a
why?
group that has no interest in what they do. I have no idea what's happening
Yeah,
over
I
there.
also don't think it really jives with, like, I mean, most companies want to be in the business that Oracle is in. They like
Right.
serving business. It's a good gig. You don't have to deal with ornery consumers. You don't have to deal with the controversy. I mean, a social network.
No,
That's
yeah. You have to deal with annoying developers.
I mean, but there's so much friction there. It's such a high
Yeah.
friction situation. It's hard for me to imagine what they're thinking. But yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
hard for me to imagine what they're thinking. It almost feels like they just didn't want Microsoft to have it or something.
Right, that
Um,
could be. There's three main databases that are used in the wild. They are Oracle, MySQL, and SQL Server. There are others, but statistically, those are the three. And
mhm.
it's Oracle and Microsoft that own them. There are three main programming languages. There's Swift, which Apple owns. There's Java, which is Oracle, and there's C Sharp, which is Microsoft. Microsoft and Oracle face off a lot in things behind the scenes of the things that you use, and maybe Oracle's whole plan, because the data engine is also not coming along with this. Uh, According to reports on the Chinese approval process, which would mean that somebody's going to have to build a new backend before it gets sold. And I bet Microsoft and Oracle were fighting over whether it would be Java and Oracle or C Sharp and SQL Server on the new backend.
Yeah, I mean, but they're paying for it. It's not paying them, so I'm not really sure how that benefits them.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
but
well,
if both companies had the intention, Oracle almost certainly does. Microsoft may have as well. If the intention was to purchase it now and then sell the operations back off, um, either back to ByteDance when the administration changes, or um, uh, to somebody else who's in the social media space, Facebook, Twitter, somebody like that. If the back end was now all of a sudden in their technology, there could be some benefit there.
yeah, yeah, I guess. I mean,
There's no telling. This is weird.
Microsoft actually has a good. I mean, the two companies that the three companies I could have seen taking interest in this, Microsoft, Google, uh, Microsoft, Google, and Facebook,
Yeah.
because
Maybe Twitter.
all, yeah, yeah, I don't think Twitter is the most. Yeah,
Maybe.
probably.
They were in one of the bidding groups at one point, but they backed out pretty early.
Yeah, but I mean, those are companies that sort of want to have a social media presence. I mean, Microsoft would like to be cool, you know.
Yeah, and
Google,
social.
failed with Google,
Microsoft
failed
Social
with
sure
Google
wasn't it.
Plus, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they've all tried. They've Microsoft and Google have sort of tried at social and had trouble, um, and Facebook is very successful at social, so this would strengthen their hand more.
True. Well, it's definitely interesting. We don't know. Obviously, another developing story literally while we're on air. We don't know the details of the purchase. We don't know what technology uh, is coming over and what is not, because that has literally not been disclosed yet. So over the next couple of days, we will probably hear more details. I don't know if unless it's truly bonkers. I don't know if we want to talk about this story one more time, but we may write about it again to update on what has happened. But it's definitely, the whole situation is bizarre. Oracle makes it even more bizarre in my book. But you know, we don't have control over the weird things. We don't know the inner workings of what's happening, and I don't know. I guess I guess at some point we'll figure out what's going on, but right now it's definitely strange. This week's Pilch Point with Avram Pilch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all your devices, and you can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee by going to pilchpoint.live/purevpn. All right. So it's been a couple of weeks since we've been on together, and I know you've had some projects going on. I feel like you're going to show us something tonight.
Dun dun dun! Reveal. Well, I don't know how exciting that is to look at behind me, but There is an $800 PC that I have built. Um, it is, and I want to talk about what you can build for $800 these days. So, one of the things that's a little bit of a compromise is really the only RGB in this thing, the only cool lighting is on the front built into the case. But we started and we took a look. Hey, what type of PC can you put together for under uh, under $800? And why $800? Well, a lot of people want to build a PC for under $500, and it is possible, but you'll really have to compromise on performance and storage. $800, I think, is the beginning sweet spot for getting something that is good for a variety of things: gaming, productivity, and streaming. So you might be asking, well, why buy? Why not? Why not? Why build a PC? Why not just buy a pre-built desktop? Well, it would definitely cost you several $100s more to get what we put together in this PC. So here's what's inside for slightly less than $800. Although prices may vary day to day, things go on sale, off sale. Things, the particular video card we bought might be out of stock now and in stock next week. So keep that in mind. So what's in the system here? Well, first of all, this case, $60. It is an Antec DP301M micro ATX case. It's really quite nice. Um, it has a tempered glass side panel over here. It has this RGB light in the front. It's got USB ports on the top and audio ports. Um, and it's really good for cable management and not making things a mess. The CPU inside here is an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 CPU, which goes for around $185. That gives you 6 cores and 12 threads, so it's very good for multitasking, and it can go up to 4.2 gigahertz, so it's pretty quick. While you can get a Core i5 from Intel for around the same price, this gives you more threads for better multitasking, and it also comes with a really decent quality fan in the box, so you don't need to go out and buy a separate CPU fan. We also, for the graphics card, we were able to put in an NVIDIA GTX 1660 Super graphics card. This particular model that we put in there is a gigabyte, but there are many brands that sell GTX 1660 Super based cards, and this was $230. And with it, we were able to get really solid frame rates of 40 to 60 FPS on high settings on some AAA games at 1080p. Now, if you want to go up to playing at higher resolutions like 2K, or you want ray tracing, then you got to spend more. But really pretty decent performance for a $230 graphics card. We were also able to put in 16 gigabytes of RAM, a set of Patriot Viper Steel memory, which was high-speed DDR4 RAM, cost $58, and a 1 terabyte Western Digital SN550, Western Digital Blue SN550 SSD, which only cost $105 when we bought it, but you can often find it on sale for $95. And that is a PCIe storage drive, so it's high speed. It's high speed SSD storage. It's not an old-fashioned SATA drive. Rounding out the build, we have a 600 watt power supply that costs $55. It is a Thermaltake TR2 power supply. It is not a high-end power supply, but power supplies have gotten very expensive, and that's an area where we really wanted to, cut some cost. And we got a Gigabyte B550 DS3H micro ATX motherboard that provides really solid performance, good mix of ports, four slots for RAM, um, really quite decent. So all told, our build came out to about $794. Now that is at the time we bought it. We bought the parts. That is not counting um, a few things. It does not count the cost of the operating system, which you may already have a copy of Windows, or you may buy a key for $20 somewhere, or you uh, may be eligible to get it for free. There's a lot of ways to get Windows for free. You can even we have an article about this on Tom's Hardware called "How to Get Windows 10 for Free or Cheap." So you do not have to pay $130 for a Windows license. Um, and in addition, we also spent we don't count this toward the total because a lot of people would put the PC near a router. But I bought an 802.11 AC USB Wi-Fi dongle for $37, and that we're using that to connect to the internet because my home office here is kind of far from the router. But all told, you can see how we did it. More details about the parts by going to tomshardware.com. We've got the article on the $800 PC. But I think the overall message is you can build a pretty capable PC for under $800, and not only can you use it for gaming and use it for things like Photoshop, but this was actually quite competent to stream all the games that we played on it. Games like Red Dead Redemption 2, we'd lose about an average of about 10% on the frame rate from streaming, which is really not bad.
Now, when you say that, do you mean streaming the game via something like xCloud, or streaming
Twitch.
Your play to Twitch?
Streaming to, I'm sorry, yes, streaming to Twitch. Obviously, if you're streaming from xCloud, then lots going on in the cloud. This is all the processing is taking place on the system. So if you're playing a game like Red Dead Redemption, which was getting like 55 frames a second for us, or is it 55? Maybe I'm confusing which. That was one of the more demanding games. So if you're playing a game that's getting, say, 55 frames per second, you might lose 5 frames per second by also streaming it to Twitch. Okay. And I tested this by streaming not just the game, but also video of myself and audio of myself. So it was having to do both: stream the game, compress the stream, and incorporate video from my webcam.
Gotcha. So you were doing live processing on top of live encoding, and
yes.
And you only lost about 10%. That's actually not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That is with the those who do streaming to Twitch may know that you have a choice of a couple of different compressions. X264 X264 gives it to you using the processor, but then there's also, if you use an NVIDIA card like this, there's NVEnc, which you can use, which has the video card do the processing. I thought having the video card do the processing would mean that you got better performance, but actually it was 1 or 2 frames per second worse. So I wouldn't recommend using NVEnc. But anyway, yeah, it's really not bad considering. I mean, a lot of streamers actually have a second PC that they use for picking up the stream. And obviously, if you're streaming from a console, you might need that. But if you're streaming from a PC game, you really don't lose a lot of performance.
That's really cool, because obviously we've talked not in a whole lot of depth, but somewhat about the machine that we use here in the studio, and we do 264 for our stream, and if you're watching the video, there's all kinds of there's motion now. There's 2 of us doing split screen. It's all being done on the system, and we learned the same thing, was that letting the processor be in charge made things run better, and so that's why we ended up with the Threadripper that we did. But yeah, obviously what we're doing is a whole lot more intensive for the encoding. But the fact that it's able to do that much without losing too much on the frame rate, really impressive.
I mean, I think it helps to have a processor that has 12 threads. So it doesn't need that many threads for the games.
Right. Yeah. That definitely helps. And what does this one have, 32 or something like that. So yeah, I can definitely attest we went up from 16 to 32 on this machine, and it changed our lives, as our regular viewers know. So yeah, being able to push that stuff off to the processor is nice. I imagine you have a full list of everything that's in here on the website.
Yes. Full list, pictures, description of how I built it, any problems that we ran into. Very minor. It was actually pretty easy to build. It was the easiest build I've ever done. I didn't cut myself. It booted up when I turned it on the first time. All things that usually don't happen when I do a PC build.
Yeah, me too. I wasn't even doing a PC build this week, and I've got a cut here on my finger that's it's pretty big because I was just trying to get a computer that used to work again.
Yeah.
With no changes. So, powering on first time, congratulations. That's great. I look forward to seeing, to going and checking out the full list of everything that's in there. And I want to see the pictures because, seeing it, I'm looking over at you now. For those of you who are noticing that I'm doing things differently tonight, it's because I don't have him over here yet because the studio's still in process. So I'm looking at you to my right like I used to. And seeing the computer back there is fun, but I really want to see pictures in progress. Those are my favorite. Yeah, I have
pictures inside and
very cool. Well, as always, Avram, I definitely always appreciate getting to see some of the weird things that you get to work on that I don't. So, what? Sorry, my brain's a little fried right this second because we had 2 segments in a row go change on us. So, what? Thank you for showing it off, and I look forward to seeing all the details and finding out what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life and F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. Get all the accessories you need to up your game on PC, console, or mobile from Razer. Whether you're looking for a gaming mouse and keyboard like we use here in the studio, a light to make your Twitch stream better, or an entire gaming setup like the Razer Blade 15, you can find it all at Razer by going to f5live.tv/Razer. All right, so let's see if this story has changed in the last hour on us. We've talked a lot about the controversies around Apple's App Store policies. The most obvious has been the battle with Epic, in which Apple seems to have no interest in stepping down. They are going to fight this one with everything they have, it seems, because it's gone to court. On the other hand, there's the game streaming apps. And in this case, we're not talking about Twitch. We're talking about Google Stadia, the Xbox game streaming, or Facebook gaming, things like that, where one app has games within it that are part of an external subscription. None of those have been available in the App Store. So iPhone, iPad cannot use the new xCloud, Stadia, things like that. And Microsoft and Facebook called them out publicly without violating the policies, which is what Epic did to draw the ire of Apple. They didn't violate the policies. They just called them out publicly. And what has happened is Apple has actually changed the App Store policies to try and make Stadia and Xbox available on their platform. Because, like Avram and I talked about, all of a sudden this big emerging gaming technology was going to be completely unavailable to Apple users. So, what did they do? They did a lot, and we have a link to the full policies, but there's a lot to read, and if you're not a developer, you may not be able to follow it. Here's what they've done. They've made it so that Stadia and xCloud can be available on the App Store, but each game has to have its own individual metadata submitted to Apple so that the games can be individually listed like they are for the Apple Arcade, which theoretically would make sense if you were downloading installing the apps from the store, but that's not what's happening. You're launching an external app to play the game on a subscription, so that's going to be a challenge. They've also made it so that they've done that so that each game has to be approved by Apple, which I understand in their policies and in their mind the way games work. I understand how that happens. They have also insisted that any in-game purchases be made available only through the App Store. So here are our problems. If it's an Xbox game, and let's pretend it's not coming through the game streaming service where you don't pay for in-game content. Let's say there was content. I can guarantee that an Xbox game cannot support the concept of external payments through streaming because the game's not actually on your device. It's on a server somewhere. And it's just streaming pictures, essentially video to your phone. So that would be difficult, but that's not how the Xbox game streaming service works. It might be how Stadia works. It's almost certainly how Facebook gaming works. So that's going to be an interesting challenge. Listing each game is going to be weird and a lot of work, especially up front. But I think it can be done. Up front, you've got, Microsoft will have 100 and something games to get listed, but they've been adding, 4 or 5 every couple of weeks. I think they can deal with that. And if something doesn't get approved, it doesn't get listed on Apple. Okay. But the thing that's weird here is that this is being treated so differently from video streaming, right? Netflix doesn't have to get permission from Apple for each TV show they license. So it's strange to me that
they did.
Right? That would be crazy. But that's exactly what Apple is demanding of Microsoft and Google here, is that each game has to be individually listed. Spotify doesn't have to get permission for each song. So I don't know what it is about games that Apple feels they have the right to be different, but here we are.
Maybe it's because Apple thinks they can get away with it.
Oh, they can get away with it.
Right.
They know they can get away with it.
I don't think that Apple could get away with it if they attempted to do such a thing to Spotify.
True.
Also, I guess they differentiate between something that's software and something that's media. So there's music and movies are media. Nevertheless, they are also competing with iTunes. So
yeah, I think when it comes to something like Netflix or Spotify, if Spotify was required to list every song, it would mean that in the app, essentially in the Apple Music app, you'd be able to launch Spotify, and there's no way Apple wants that. And same thing with the video. You'd be able to launch Netflix and not have the you can buy it or rent it from Apple, or Netflix already has it for free. That that would not be good for them. But Halo is only available through the Xbox game streaming. So, I think they have more muscle here, because there's no way listing a Halo game in the App Store that then opens the Xbox game streaming app, could possibly hurt sales for Apple, but listing music or movies might. So it'll be interesting. The companies don't seem to be terribly excited about this yet. Nobody's gone, yay! This is the thing that is going to make it possible for us. You know, Xbox didn't come out and go, well, Xbox game streaming's coming to Apple. They're like, meh. So it may not be enough, but it does show that Apple is willing to look at its policies and respond to consumer and publisher demand, which is something that the Epic conversation has not suggested. So, you know, when you approach it correctly, it seems like they're willing to have a discussion, which I think is a good sign. That maybe if Microsoft and Google and Facebook say, well, this is okay, but we really need to make these changes, maybe they will. Maybe we'll actually see these things come. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think they have some leverage.
I think both sides have some leverage, which I think is a good thing. Apple has leverage because obviously it's their platform, and Microsoft and Google have leverage to say, you know what, this is too much work. We're just going to stay on Android exclusively, and your users are going to lose out. And then the iPhone users go, hey, why are we getting screwed over? So I think they both have some leverage, which will be good, because hopefully in the end, the thing that happens will be the best solution for everybody involved. So fingers crossed, no telling, but let's cross our fingers on it. This week's news from the tubes and F5 Live is proudly powered by Riff Tracks. Make fun of movies or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best, creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities. It's like watching a movie with your funniest friends. And to find out what full-length feature films, short films, and TV shows and live events are available, you can find all of that by going to f5live.tv/rifftracks with an X. So at the beginning of the lockdown, at the beginning of the pandemic, there was a lot of talk about price gouging, particularly on online stores. There were new stores that were not reputable popping up with, you know, things like face masks at unbelievable high prices, $50, $60 for a pack of masks. And we saw some of it happen on platforms like Amazon and eBay. And both companies responded real quick. eBay made it so that certain products couldn't be listed at all. Amazon went through and year to date has removed over 1 million products and 10,000 stores from the platform over price gouging concerns. But as it turns out, some of Amazon's first-party listings have prices that are equally out of control. In fact, the consumer watchdog organization Public Citizen raised awareness of a number of products that over the last few months have gone up as much as 1,000%, including face masks, again, that have gone from $4 to $40, and cornstarch, of all weird things, that has gone up from 90 cents to $9. Obviously, Amazon's pricing isn't managed by people. It's managed by an AI system. And so someone somewhere must be doing something to screw up the AI's metadata collection. But the fact that these products get listed like that is concerning. I know I was on GNC Weekly this past Friday, and we talked about this. And Avram, we mentioned you because with anything Amazon, camel. is our favorite thing to make sure that a price is not out of control. And if you go and look at the SKUs that are pointed out by Public Citizen, you can see the giant hump show up and disappear as whatever AI system finds some bad metadata, it goes through the roof, and then some alert comes up on an Amazon employee's computer that goes, "Hey, so this price went up a lot. You want to look into it?" And they go, "Oh, that can't be right," and they fix it. But you can actually see you can see it happen on Abram's favorite price checking website.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mention this because Prime Day, so everybody knows what Amazon Prime Day is, I think. Prime Day is that Amazon shopping holiday, and normally it takes place in July. But this year, the company has postponed it because of COVID-19. But all the rumors, all the leaks suggest that it will be happening in October. And I just did a story on Friday about Prime Day, when it should be coming, and what to expect, and how to tell if you're actually getting a deal. And I said, use Camel, Camel, Camel. So, everyone, install the Camelizer, which is Camel's Chrome plugin. And when you're on a product page on Amazon, if you click it, it will show you what the price for that item has been, the highest it's ever been, the lowest it's ever been, and a chart of all the vicissitudes of its pricing. So you know,
Oh, I like that
hey,
word.
wait a second, this is on sale now, but actually it was cheaper a month ago. Or
The
they're
the
promoting
shoes,
this.
the shoes from Prime Day 2019 or 2018, where the Prime Day price was 75% higher than it was the day before.
So yeah, that's something you really got to keep in mind. Also, you might see that it's just like this, which means that the price has been the same.
Mm-hmm.
Or because when they show you the price crossed out on Amazon, that's it's never been, it may have never been that price,
Right.
right?
That
Like
might just be
the
MSRP.
MSRP. The MSRP has never been the MSRP, right? It might be,
Yeah.
oh wow, this is $99 and it's on sale for $80, and then you look and it's like, wait a second, actually it's usually $82, not
Mm-hmm.
um not $99. It's only $2 off. So
So the
yeah,
urgency isn't as important in that $2.
right, exactly. So that's why you've got to look, and then you may say, oh wow, it was cheaper before. The other thing that you need to do is, if it is a computer part of any kind or peripheral, you might want to check PCPartPicker.com.
Oh
PC Part Picker uh, is really good at tracking prices of individual components. They are the absolute best at it.
yeah. Yes.
And they track across, actually, I don't think they track Amazon. I think they track
They do.
everything but Amazon.
No, they do.
Oh,
They
they
have
do not
Amazon.
track
Yeah.
Amazon? Okay. So they have, importantly, they have things that are not Amazon. They have Newegg, and they have a couple others. And that's what you want to be
B&H.
looking at, because what?
B&H.
What else?
B&H.
Right? They have B&H, Newegg, a few other places where you would commonly get computer parts, peripherals at a good deal, good price. So you really want to be looking there, because Amazon, this might be the lowest it was ever on Amazon, but it might be lower somewhere else all the time. So
Yeah, exactly. Just because it's $100 on Amazon doesn't mean it's not $60 on Newegg. Which is
yeah,
exactly what, when we rebuilt the computer for in here, PC part picker is how we did it. And
yep.
in addition to the pricing stuff, it also makes sure that the stuff you're buying is compatible, which, oh, thank goodness
Yeah,
for that.
it's an absolutely amazing, brilliant site. Uh, those folks do a fantastic job. You can actually make like a little shopping cart of all the parts, and it'll total up what it would cost you, and then you can send it to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And then you
really,
can
really
link it.
cool.
Then you can link out to the stores. It's like, these are the three
Yeah.
that are best on Amazon, and these two are best on Newegg, and this one you should get from B&H.
Yeah.
And then when you click it, it opens
Yep.
up the browser windows. Oh, brilliant!
Yeah.
But so
Great.
so there are a lot of tools to make sure that that AI based pricing on Amazon doesn't get you and things like that. But that's not Amazon's only problem this week. Price gouging isn't their only issue. They also have, thanks to a CNN investigation and the help of the University of Maryland product testers, they confirmed that there are a variety of Amazon Basics branded products that have major safety concerns that Amazon has been aware of through through customer reviews and has not addressed, including the product I mentioned earlier, the connected microwave. That product is sparking and has, in at least one case, caught fire, and potentially has happened when the device has been off, which is really concerning. There has also been a lot of concern over Amazon Basics USB wall warts and USB cables getting hot and melting. And Amazon has left these products up. Obviously, now that this CNN report has come out this week, they're going to have to take a closer look at the products. But it does go to show when a seller gets as big as Amazon and they start white labeling a ton of products, it gets hard to manage. White label products can be a real challenge because they may never have them in their hand. They may, come from some manufacturer in China. They get the Amazon Basic stamp on them. They might get drop shipped. Who knows? Amazon may never actually see the product. And so that's a huge problem.
That's the problem. I mean, Amazon certainly has enough money and resources to do a better job of safety testing its products.
Yes.
Period.
Absolutely. And
they
should
really
be doing
don't have an excuse.
Absolutely. And they should be doing it more regularly than they are. Obviously, they and we can go back to a product that we've talked about a lot because it ruined my Thanksgiving. The Monster luminescent LED strips. When those things first came out, they worked great. We had a whole bunch of them all over the old office, and then all of a sudden, they stopped. Thankfully, it was just that the transceiver was garbage, but that could have been a heat issue. There could have been all kinds of problems that happened there. So you can't just test it on the first batch. You have to spot check them over time and make sure that nothing weird's happening. But Amazon has the best database of consumer reviews. They have people posting videos of this microwave sparking. And Amazon's not addressing it. So, that that's going to change because of this investigation.
Well, but I asked this question: if their microwave sparks, how is it that Panasonic and Sharp and LG are able to maintain quality on their microwaves, right?
Because they're not white labeled, for one.
They're manufacturing it.
Yeah, but they're more heavily involved in the product instead of having somebody else design, build, and then just stamp their name on it.
Well,
sometimes, most of the time.
You put your name out there, mm-hmm. you gotta live with it. You gotta live with the consequences, right?
Absolutely.
And Amazon has to live with the consequences. Now, it seems like they didn't have enough involvement in making sure that this stuff was high quality.
Right.
And I have to admit, I have gotten Amazon Basic stuff on the premise that, well, how bad could it be? Because Amazon wouldn't make something that terrible, right?
Right. And you're far from the only one. Ironically, the wall warts that we used to power the Monster Illuminescence are Amazon Basics branded.
I mean, I just kind of assumed better than some no-name brand, right? It's Amazon. They must have some level of quality. Now I'm sitting here looking on my desk at the Amazon rechargeable battery charger that I got. thinking, well, did that make the list? I hope not. I mean, I looked at the reviews; they were all very positive about it.
That's good.
But
But that brings us back to the same topic. It may not be on price, but it's still research, right? Do your research on a product. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're looking at price, Camel, PC Part Picker, things like that. But also look at the reviews. Look at from a couple of standpoints. Look at the best. Look at the worst. Look at the newest. Because if you look at a
yeah,
product
and
that has had reviews for 2 years, it's the same as looking at a restaurant. Just because it's 5-star doesn't mean it wasn't purchased 3 months ago, and all of a sudden the last 12 reviews are garbage. You got to
yeah,
look
yeah,
at the newest.
you could have a serious problem.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my quick user review story. So first of all, I do have to wonder about the editorial integrity of user reviews on some sites. We know, for example, on Amazon, a lot of manufacturers are doing things to kind of basically bribe people to do
Mm-hmm.
positive reviews.
Yeah.
For example, when I got this USB Wi-Fi dongle, it had a little card in it that said like, "Hey, if you give us a review, which I think they mean a positive review, send us a picture of it or something. Send us a link to it, and we'll send you a free USB flash drive or something." And
Yep. I
um,
had a. I
they're
just bought.
definitely
I just bought a thing for my kitchen, a mandolin, and inside it was like, if you give us a review and send us a link to it, we'll send you one of these two things.
right. So, and sometimes they give things for free to people to do it. So there's some editorial integrity problems there, but at least you get the feeling, particularly since Amazon left up ones that said that their own products caught fire,
Mm-hmm.
that they are letting through some honest negative reviews. And I was a fool when I bought my washing machine and dryer a few years ago because unfortunately, there's not a lot of, unlike with laptops and microphones and computer stuff, there's not a ton of places that review appliances,
Right.
large appliances. There's Consumer Reports, but they don't review every model. And the model that I was looking at was Samsung, and it had um, on Home Depot, it had something like 4.5, 5 stars. And I think Consumer Reports said that Samsung brand was good, but they hadn't reviewed that particular model that I got. Well, lo and behold, we first of all, when it came, it was leaking all over the place, which I guess could happen with any model, but we had to have the appliance store come and fix it like 2 times. But also, when I looked at Amazon, it had a slew of negative reviews for my. I didn't think to look on Amazon for a washing machine,
Sure.
right? Because it's usually not a good place to get an appliance. But even if you didn't plan to buy it there, read the reviews, because there were people who showed that my washing machine has a serious problem where if you are in a certain mode, it can explode. Um, and uh, by explode, I don't think they mean catch fire. They mean like literally, it can just like the wall of it can break off and shoot across the room because it's not. And Samsung actually had to do a recall on these eventually, although uh, we signed up for the recall and nobody ever got back to us. So we still have it. We just don't run it in that mode,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess we're okay. But anyway, long story short, read through user reviews on Amazon, even if you don't plan to buy something from Amazon, and do what you said. Look at the negative ones.
Yep.
Granted, someone will always get something defective. Like you will always
Sure.
find someone who got something defective. There
Like
will
I
be
used to
defective.
like I used to say at Radio
Yeah,
Shack, everything that's mass produced has a failure rate.
right. So for sure, when you look at the 1 star reviews, some people will say this was defective.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at why was it defective? Was it just
Right.
DOA? Okay, DOA can happen, and you see a lot of those. Or is it like this is defective because this piece is flimsily made and it fell off or something.
Right.
Well, wait a sec, that suggests real build quality issues.
Exactly. So definitely look at reviews, look at prices, do your research before you make a purchase. It doesn't matter what it's on. Just because it's got a big name brand on it, like Samsung, doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect. And just because it has a no name brand on it doesn't mean that it's going to be garbage. Do your research, make sure you know what you're up against when you make a purchase. And that's not just Amazon. That's everywhere. That's everything. Do your homework, because if you end up with something that's garbage, at that point it's on you if you didn't do your research. So you always should.
Yeah.
And now, ironically, this week's DRM, not included in F5 Live, is powered by Amazon Prime. I always love it when that happens. You know that you get free shipping on lots of products, but there's a whole lot more than that. There's free music with Amazon Prime Music. There's free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video. There's free games and a free subscription on Twitch with the newly renamed Amazon Prime Gaming, and a whole lot more. And you can learn more about some of these benefits. Get a 30-day free trial if you're not a subscriber, or even get a link to send it as a gift to somebody else who may not be, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. All right, so this is an interesting and touchy subject, and we're going to try and treat it with all the sensitivity that we can. Disney has come under fire this week for their newest live-action remake, Mulan. Not because it's necessarily a bad movie, but because of some of the more political aspects of it. In particular, the fact that part of the movie was filmed in an area of China that has been used by the Chinese government as a prison camp for a group of the country's Muslim residents. The reports from inside of these camps have varied wildly, from your standard, communist re-education camp through forced labor, and there have been reports of what's the word I'm looking for? Organized genocide. Organized was the word I was looking for. So the reports from the region do vary wildly, but none of them are great. And Disney filmed part of this movie in that region, and then in the credits thanked the organization within the Chinese government that is responsible for the propaganda that has allowed the government to create these prison camps. Obviously, that has returned to Disney a lot of concern that they would be involved with this group, that they would film in the area that these prison camps are in. It has gone so far as having the head of finance for Disney have to address the topic at a Bank of America conference, of all the weird places. And she didn't really exactly address it so much as say most of the film was filmed in New Zealand, and we were granted permission from China to film, which is required. If you're going to film anything in China, you have to have the government's permission. And that one of the 20 locations was in this area, but it was not in one of the camps. It's definitely a little shaky ground that now Congress wants a better explanation. They sent a letter to Disney asking for more information about how closely they worked with an organization that may be involved in covering up some massive human rights violations, uh, and Disney has not yet responded. But there is a massive boycott against Disney right now because of this, and the film did not do what they expected in its initial release, probably because of it. It's a
I think
weird situation.
there's a lot of reasons why this film would not do well.
That's true.
Number one, it didn't come to theaters like they would have liked it to. And by the way, did you see how Tenet did in theaters? I think the only major release that's come out
Uh-huh.
since COVID-19 did terrible.
Yeah.
And that may be why Wonder Woman 1984 has been postponed again
Number
until, I think,
5.
Christmas.
Date number 5.
It's going to be postponed. It's going to be again. It's going to be postponed again. It's going to. I mean, all indications are people are not in the last place. I mean, we don't need to go on this tangent here, but the last place people are going to go if there's any concern about a pandemic is the movie theater. The last place. Now, look, there's lots of people in America who seem to think that there's not really a pandemic and they can go around without wearing masks and everything's okay. Maybe some of those folks will go to the movies, but there are enough people out there who are in touch with reality and know that it's actually dangerous, that you just can't have a successful movie release right now. So they released it on Disney Plus, but then aren't they charging people $20 or something for it?
30.
$30. Yeah. So right there, that's a fail. No one wants that. I mean,
and a lot of people know that it's going to be available as part of Disney Plus in December.
Right. So I mean, that could be said, unfortunately, about anything that's being released right now under that same type of system, like situation. Like, for example, my wife and I would love to see Bill and Ted Face the Music. We really like Bill and Ted, but we could probably save the $25 and just wait a few months until we can rent it for $5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we made an exception for Trolls World Tour because it was my son's birthday and he wanted to see it, and okay, we'll do that. But it's a hard sell to get people to spend more money to watch it on the same TV screen that they could watch something on 3 months later for either $5 or free.
Yeah.
So that's the baseline, right? That's
But you have to.
That's the big problem.
But you have to assume that they took that into consideration when they were looking at what was possible, and they still missed expectations.
Yes, and then don't you also have to have Disney Plus to rent it?
Yep.
Didn't they do something like that? So you've also now, like, further, for those who don't have Disney Plus, now they can't rent it. So that's like further limiting your audience, your customer base, for reasons I don't understand. I guess to promote Disney Plus. But if you really want to promote Disney Plus, that would be free on Disney Plus. But also, there's more. What you didn't say was there was another controversy about the movie before the one that you're talking about. And the star, Liu Yifei, came out in support of the Hong Kong police. Came out in against the pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. Well, that might go over well in mainland China, but it certainly won't go over well outside. So that was a controversy.
Yeah.
Right? And now you have this controversy about where it was shot. So, yeah, I mean, this highlights this is the continual push-pull of companies that are doing business in China. Right? They have to please or kind of go along with the rules of the Chinese government, but they also know that sometimes in going along with those rules and trying to please the Chinese government, they're going to do things that run afoul of the values of people in the West.
Right.
And this
Right.
this is a prime example of it, but it's not the only one. Think about Google uh, when they had when they had to pull out of China because Google wanted them to not anonymize to turn over to spy on the citizens. So like,
Uh-huh.
but other countries are more than happy. Other companies are more than happy to do that. So
Uh-huh.
it's it's a dilemma. China is one of the United States' biggest trading partners.
Right.
It is a huge economic and manufacturing force, and it's also a huge market. Not only does Disney, I mean, Disney doesn't really have to worry about manufacturing things in China so much, but Disney wants the Chinese audience.
Yeah.
There's a billion consumers there that they want to reach.
And
Companies
it's
really want to reach that audience.
a film about China.
Right. Like, and right, this is your prime, like, this is probably the movie that is most going to appeal to a Chinese audience. Although they may also think, hey, we would rather watch a movie like, I mean, there actually has been at least one version of Mulan that was made by Chinese filmmakers that was
Mm-hmm.
not Disneyfied.
Right.
And I've been wanting to see that actually. It's not Disneyfied, it's not of songs. It's actually trying to be, I think, a little more historically accurate. Um, but yeah, so that's an issue, and
Yep.
Disney's going to have to deal with it. They remember that they're constantly doing things to try to get more things in front of the Chinese audience. Like there was a whole little subplot in, I think it was Iron Man 3, but I could have been Avengers 2. I think it was Iron Man 3 where this other like Chinese doctor helps Iron Man, but those scenes were only in China.
Yeah.
Were only shown in China.
Yeah.
So there have been things like that where they're really trying to target that audience. As a business, I can't blame them.
But it does, you do have a line that you have to walk if you're going to continue to do business in the West, because
Right.
the West does not like a lot of the human rights stuff happening in China, and so
Yeah.
you end up in a sticky situation here. I look forward to seeing what Disney has to say in response to this congressional letter. It could be fascinating, and we will probably know in the coming weeks what that ends up looking like. So there's no telling, though. Well, guys, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We always appreciate it. If you didn't join us live and would like to in the future, you can do that Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern by going to f5live.tv/join us and chat with us in the studio while we do the show and give us your feedback on the topics. We always love that. You can also go to plugkitslive.com/subscribe and see all of our shows and all the different ways that you can watch or listen. I gotta say, it's good to be back. I wish that the new backdrop was in place, but it's okay. I definitely feel like I'm at home in front of this backdrop. So it's good to be back. I've missed you, Avram, and
I missed you too. I missed doing the show. So I'm glad we're back, and I'm excited for the new background.
Me too. I can't wait to see it in place. It's all in my head, but I don't know what it's going to look like in real life. This one, it came out way better than what was in my head, so we'll see if the next one works out the same way. But for now, we're back to normal. We'll be back, ideally, if everything goes right, next week. And we've got some new stuff coming out this week, some how-tos on the new Monster Smart Illuminescence products. We've got an unboxing on the Surface Duo and a whole lot more. So definitely check that out. And with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Aaron.
And we will see you guys back next time. Ciao.